I'm Guy Sandhurst. I'm a retired barrister, King's Counsel. I'm not a clinician. I know a bit about medicine for various reasons, but I'm a keen supporter of Helen and success. And all I'm here for now is to tell you very quickly about a successful meeting, which you can read about up there, which we had with NHS England in January. And we went to see them. I went with Helen, with Dominic Grieve and Jane Williams. And we had a very good half hour, I think it was half an hour, was it 45 minutes? 45-minute slot. And we had written to them before, so they knew what was coming. And what you will see from this is they have now made some commitments, which I'll explain to you very briefly, and we're going back to see them on the 22nd of May. And I have no reason to believe that that will be cancelled because of the upheavals, because it's too sufficiently close to be within range. And I think whatever we do achieve, we can then push on in the next couple of years before NHS England divests itself of all its responsibilities. Very simply, we went to them to talk about these rare pituitary tumours in children, and in particular, the potential for improving access to best treatments, and to have specialist neurorehabilitation afterwards, and ultimately to seek to reduce long-term morbidity in this group. And I'm very pleased to say that Matt Day, on behalf of NHS England, has agreed that those are legitimate and appropriate aims, and that he wants to push them forward. What they've agreed also is they're going to work now within their own networks and the specialist multidisciplinary trusts for children's cancer. And of course, we have now the new commissioning board, which is coming forward, which you'll hear more about, I suspect, very shortly very shortly from Darren Hargreave, because he's the co-chair. And this is really important for children's cancer. And what they have committed to is this. They will work with the networks in the MDTs for children's cancer, and we will need to push them to bring the ICBs in going forward, and obviously Darren's group. And we want to get them to follow the existing NICE guidelines, because as long ago as 2014, there have been earlier ones since then, but as long ago as 2014, there were the guidelines for rare endocrine tumours, in particular craniopharyngioma guidelines, which are sufficiently similar and close that they're absolutely spot on, really, for what we should be looking for this very discrete, small group of tumours. So we're not asking for something particularly difficult or one-off. It's a matter of bringing your children's tumours and young people within general mainstream, so they're not left out, they're isolated, scattered around the country. Now, of course, we can only influence them so far as England is concerned, but in time it may filter out to Wales and Scotland and Northern Ireland. Who knows? What we want to do, therefore, and what they have promised to do, is to look at and assess the implementation of the CCLG, that's the Children's Cancer and Leukemia Group hosted guidelines for this cohort. So they're agreeing that they're going to look at those guidelines and see how we might be fitted in. They've agreed to map the current pathway of care for these rare pituitary tumours, and they've agreed to assess the nature of specialist endocrinology support for each of the Children's Cancer Principal Treatment Centre MDTs. So that's really important. Those are commitments. And I think that there's no reason to worry that they will disappear. They may need prodding to keep them going, but it's difficult now for them to jettison that. And so we've got them with it. We've got our group now at least back properly into the mainstream, and for that you have to thank Helen and Success for all the efforts they've made. And then what they've committed to doing is to check the alignment across the relevant service specifications for this cohort of patients and to check that against the CCLG hosted guidelines to see how they marry up and to consider whether changes need to be considered and enacted. This is all in an email from them. You've got it up online as well. And then they're going to review the data held by the National Diseases Registration System about these types of tumours. And so what they're going to do, we hope, and they've said they'll do, is to press us then to make a case for changing the care pathway, because they acknowledge that there may be changes needed. They're not committed to making those changes, but I think if we can make a decent case, and if we're not asking for new money, in other words, just making things work better and more efficiently, then the goodwill is there. Because we know there are only small numbers of these tumours each year, but it's vitally important we get it right, and that things don't just stop the moment the individual is treated, that it goes on to 18, and then it goes on to 25, and then we want to encourage them to look further into adulthood as well. But I think this was an important meeting because we managed to get in at the top. We've made progress. The door is open. They're talking to us again, and we have a commitment to meet in May. So don't go away thinking all is done, but we are now in the building. All right? And we're not going to give up. So that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Gary.
And somewhere I've got this.